Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so yeah, man. First of all my Laker fans, forgive me for not getting back to you guys in regards to the comment section. For whatever reason, they're not allowing me to comment back. This has happened a couple times. It doesn't happen every time, but for the last couple of times I check it, it's only allowing me to respond to comments given to me every so often. It's weird. Like every 4 times I'm able to. But I'm just sitting there, I type up something and I click the send button and it gives me some error message. So I don't know if YouTube is screwing with me or not, but y'all know how I am. I like to respond to every message. Some of you guys are very consistent about engaging with my platform, and I don't want y'all to think that I'm starting to disrespect all of the support that has been given to me. Absolutely not. I just think that YouTube is not very pleased with me because of some of the things I like to talk about outside of the Lakers on the same channel. But I don't own the platform, so I gotta live with myself. But yeah, that's what's going on. So if you haven't seen me respond to your comments, that's what it is. It's because I've likely been flagged for being too honest, more than anything, I'd imagine. So yeah, man, I want to talk a little basketball here. I made a video earlier today, a therapy session, and had my mouth all white on the side. I don't know, I licked my lips or something and left white stuff on the side of my mouth for half the damn video. I had a glare in my phone, so I couldn't see myself very well, nor was I looking. It looked disgusting, so that was nasty. But I'll try to do better this time. But this time we're going to talk about basketball because I had a few things on my mind. So first of all, prayers out to Moses Moody, man. Tore his patella tendon last night on a freak play, going up for a layup on a fast break against the Dallas Mavericks in Dallas, and blew his knee out, man. Blew his knee out. It was gruesome. He's out for the next season for certain. He definitely ain't gonna play no more this season, but if I know anything, he's probably gonna be out for next season too, man. It's one of my favorite two-way players in the league, man. I really like Moses Moody, always have. Can't stand the Warriors, but I like that player. So this was absolutely sad to see, man. Absolutely sad to see. So that's the first thing I want to start with. Just sending good energy to him and get back strong. Moses Moody. All right, so there's so many different things going on. I don't even remember where I wanted to start, honestly. But yeah, so I've been paying attention to players. I tell y'all, I guess I'll just jump into some draft talk maybe, because doing preliminary homework on the top players. I have done some work on Boozer and Peterson. That's as far as I've gotten so far. It's still extremely early. The draft isn't until June, and I think they said that the draft lottery is until like May 10th. I normally don't start doing my homework until May, but this year I'm starting in March. I want to be very, very up on all the players, more so than I am usually, and I'm usually pretty darn up to date with all those players, but this year I just want to get started a little early, if not a lot early.
Okay, so
yeah, man, I like Boozer a lot, man. I don't know where he stands amongst the top 3 yet, of course, because I have to do homework on the one that's arguably the most important player to a lot of people's mock drafts, which is AJ DeBonsta. I did see some homework on him 2 years ago when he was in high school, I think it was, but other than that, I haven't as much as glanced at him. And I want to say that I don't watch March Madness. I don't watch college football at all. So all the homework I'm doing on these kids has to do with what I'm seeing on YouTube, with other people putting together conversations based on what it is that they think and see of these prospects. So I don't know what these kids are doing in the tournament, and I'd imagine that's very important data. But I just don't like college basketball. I don't like watching a bunch of scrubs running around. I can't stand it. And most of these young players, no disrespect to them, but most of them are not going to make the NBA. I don't like watching that level of basketball. I just don't do. So I don't watch it, but I think that some of these prospects in this draft are extremely important based on just the high level of the top of this draft. From what I've gathered, the top 8 or 9 players are expected to be either star level players or something of that nature. If they develop properly, you got about 7 to 8 all-stars potentially in this draft. So Boozer's who I did homework on this morning, and I like what I saw, man. I like what I saw. He is extremely smart. He's kind of built like his father, but he didn't play like his dad. In my opinion, his dad was more of a mid-range jump shooting power forward. Rebound the ball really well. We had him for a couple years in LA, so I got a chance to really see Carlos' high-arching mid-range jump shot. I used to love watching him shoot jumpers. His son doesn't even shoot mid-range jumpers, which is an irony, because his son does everything else. Like literally everything else. This kid has so many different things that he can do in the pick and roll. He can seal out well. He's huge. It's like 6'9", 250 or something like that. So you're talking about a very big person. And that size tends to translate extremely well in the NBA. When guys are usually that big and very skilled, you got your Paolo Bancheros, you got your Zion Williamsons, LeBron James, Cooper Flagg. There's a couple guys come to mind, Julius Randle, those type of guys. They translate well. And this player has cerebral passing genius, from what I understand. He kicks ahead as well as anybody. He's going to have fantastic and long court passes that LeBron and Luka like to throw. He would fit right in with the Lakers in regards to that. Of course, he's not going to be a Laker because he's a top 3 pick, and the Lakers do not have that type of thing going on. But you get the point. Like, he's that type of player. And then he has like Tim Duncan genius. His defense could be better. From what I understand, he's a solid defender. You can build a good defense around him. He holds up well, but he's not particularly shot blocky. He's not a shot blocker at all. But if you've got players in place who can do those things, he can contribute to a very good defense, from what I understand. But offensively, he's just borderline genius. He's basically a prodigy, from what I've been gathering. And he doesn't really have too many weaknesses in his offensive game. He can shoot the ball from behind the arc. His mid-range game he had in high school rather, but it hasn't translated to college. I'd imagine he'll be able to pick that back up if asked to. But he uses his size to play bully ball a lot of the time, and he's just absolute money in the paint. High efficiency, great touch, and just can pretty much do everything, from what I understand, in the pick and roll. He could play on ball, off ball. Not really a great ball handler, is what I gathered. But he's got a lot of goods that contribute to winning. And from what I understand, he's probably the most ready-made player at the top of that draft. Between him, DeBonsta, and Peterson, most people expect that he's going to translate the best the soonest. I think the problem, if there is a problem, because I don't know if this is a problem at all, but I think the thing that people are most concerned about is positional versatility. He's only a power forward, pretty much. You can probably get away with playing him in small forward in certain situations, but it's kind of going to be Rui Hachimura-ish, to where you don't expect that he's going to be able to keep up with traditional small forwards who have the ability to move left and right really fast. That's not necessarily where he's going to thrive. You kind of want him staying true to the 4 spot, from what I understand. Small ball 5 if your 4 can shot block, If let's say he's playing for the Denver Nuggets, if he got a Peyton watching next to him type thing, he could do well in that situation. Jokic's spot, basically, but obviously he's not replacing Jokic. But you get the point. You want Evan Mobley next to him. You want somebody who can shot block next to him if you're going to have him playing the 5. So, yeah, that's the only thing. I was listening to a lot of people talk about him this morning. And I think the disconnect for a lot of people who assess college ball and are trying to judge whether or not a player should be a top draft pick, listening to them talk, a lot of those guys may not necessarily understand all of the different responsibilities and roadblocks in team building in the NBA. They just see this is a great player. He's more ready than the next guy. So it should be as simple as putting him on the team, because if you're serious about winning, you need this guy. That's a very obvious and important aspect to building a proper team. But in the NBA, with so many restrictions on the type of pieces that you can have or move around and stuff like that, sometimes it's more important to give a little back in that regard for the sake of versatility. To say that a guy can play 4 and 5 positions, he may not be as good as Boozer, but he may be more likely to be able to be built around in such a restrictive era of basketball where you got all these aprons and stuff like that. It makes it very difficult to kind of get all of what it is that you need and slot players in. So it's like if a guy is strangled to one position, I need to have other things in place that I may not necessarily have in order to get the most out of him or to put him in a position where he will be successful. And furthermore, it may be a stranglehold on my cap or a couple of years for whatever reason before I can get him those pieces. So does it make sense for me to bring myself that guy, or should I take another guy? And then also the upside of athleticism, the fact that you want to put booties in seats, so to speak. So you got these hyper athletic guys like DeBonsta, or a more obvious guard genius like Peterson. These two guys may be more likely to sell shoes than Boozer is, who has more of a Tim Duncan type game, more fundamentally sound, not much wiggle, not much athleticism. You see what I'm saying? So the NBA is looking for different things, and because of the responsibilities to team building and the restrictions to team building, you may slot a guy like DeBonsta above Boozer in this league, and maybe you don't do that in other leagues where it's different ways of flexibility for each team or whatever, you know what I mean? So I think the key to this draft, though, and I guess this kind of takes me away from Boozer a little bit, but the key to this draft and what I'm understanding is a lot of the teams that are potentially in a position to pick at the top of this draft are win-now teams. One of the things that I've been doing over the last 24 hours is using the tracker, not the tracker, but the simulator on the draft, as you can like use the players, the teams, that are currently in position to be in the lottery, have them slotted different ways. Tankathon, I believe, is the website I use. And I've been running the simulator a million times, just seeing who all gets the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. picks. And a good portion of the time, the teams that are in the top 3 are actually teams with win-now timelines, y'all. Win-now timelines. Yes, you got your Sacramentos. Yes, you got Brooklyn in there. Memphis occasionally gets in there, and Washington. But what you got to understand about some of these other teams, Washington is actually included in this. Because they picked up Trae Young and Anthony Davis, they're ready to win. They're ready to win right now. They got a bunch of lottery picks, and they got 2 guys that they're paying $100 million. That's supposed to be all-stars. So Washington, you can essentially say, is exiting the rebuilding stage of their franchise. Indy, for example, they're taking a year off, but they were in the finals last year. Game 7 of the finals last year. Their star is coming back. Most of those players that was in the finals coming back. So if you're asking them, do they really want to rebuild? No, that was just a one-year thing. They expect to be contenders next year. They expect to at least be playoff teams next year. And then you look at what's going on with Atlanta. Atlanta has New Orleans' pick and Milwaukee's pick. So if either one of those picks go first, second, or third, they get it. So you got double the chances of a team like Atlanta being in the top 3 than any other team. So when you run the simulator, what you end up seeing is Atlanta in that top 3 more than not, believe it or not. And Atlanta is obviously a very good team. They just went on, 11-game winning streak? I've ran the simulator and saw Miami get in the top 3. That's a play-in tournament team. Ran the simulator and saw Golden State get the top pick. Obviously, they're a win-now team, even though they're no good right now. If they were to get a chance to say a Boozer versus a DeBonsta, maybe they really want to go with a Boozer since he's likely to contribute to win-now situations. So what I'm saying to you is, for the first time in a long time, a good portion of the teams that are projected to get in the top 3 are ready to exit a rebuilding timeline. When I look at Utah, how many more years do they want to tank. If they to get the top pick, they may want to win now piece that can help them with the fundamental things that'll make them very good. So it's like I'm looking at these teams and I'm saying it's only a few of these teams that are actually quote unquote bad, y'all. It's only a few of them. Brooklyn is starting from scratch right now. Memphis, I'd imagine you consider them starting from scratch as well, basically. And I'm sure there's another team that I'm not thinking of that you would consider to be starting from scratch. But the rest of these teams have been tanking either for several years or have win now talent that just had injury years or have taken picks from people who probably shouldn't have been trading them away and are ready to win any damn way like Atlanta. So the calculus of what these teams may potentially prioritize seems to be winning in most of these cases. I think that favors a Cam Boozer to be your first overall pick, or to at least fall to a team that he can contribute to winning in regards to very fast. So I know DeBonsta is still somebody I have to do homework on. I understand that he's extremely versatile, extremely athletic, basically a transformational type talent. But he made, from what I understand, he's probably best for going to a team that, like Brooklyn or Memphis, who's ready to start their franchise with a fresh face, rather than a team that wants to add a young super talent to a winning situation. You know, Dallas also is a team that got a top pick many times over in the simulator. I saw them get it several times. So, like, they would love to acquire a Darren Peterson. They need Darren Peterson. They need a guard very bad. So it's very obvious to me that if they got a first pick, that's who they would likely want. But it could be very intriguing pairing Cooper Flag up with any of those three guys. So this is a very exciting time for Dallas if they can find a way to get into that lottery, that top three. So, like, this is really interesting, man. Because I look at a team like Atlanta and, like, man, if they get the right piece, they're going to change life for their franchise forever. They're already a very talented team, very defensive team, scrappy, ready to win, been winning for, throughout the course of this season. They've been really good. If you add a Cam Boozer or DeBonsta or Peterson to that franchise, you're talking about taking them to contender status if that player pops right away. Like adding them immediately to contender status. You're putting Jalen Johnson, Cam Boozer, a Kongwu. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing it gets a little tricky in the Eastern Conference. That's already wide open when you add that type of talent to the situation. So, yeah, I'm extremely intrigued by this draft, man. Not only because you have potentially transformational talent there, but also because of the different things that are going on with the lottery potentially. Now, if things stay traditional and you get like Indy, Sacramento, and Washington with the top three picks, then nothing to talk about. It's just going to be kind of traditional stuff going on. But if a team like Atlanta and Chicago hop into that top three, suddenly you got a shift in power going on. You got something different going on. Actually, Chicago, to be honest with you, they're a heavy tanking team that could use a DeBonsta to start over with. I don't know if I would put them in the win now team necessarily at all if they were to win this lottery at all. I don't think so. I think they can start over. You're adding to really young talent, and they haven't really put together so much of it yet. They're actually starting over now, so it would be really good for them to win this lottery and take a DeBonsta, add him next to a Buzelis. But some of these other teams, for example, like Charlotte. Imagine if Charlotte gets the first pick in the draft. Now all of a sudden you're adding a Boozer to what is already a lethal Eastern Conference team ready to win. They already loaded. You know what I mean? They loaded to the max right now. Picking up Knipple, Miller's healthy, Ball, Bridges. Now they add Kobe White. If they can re-sign him, that would be big for them. And you add another great player type talent to that situation, I would not be surprised to see them in the finals in the next 3 years. Not surprised at all. Especially if they add a serious dude like Boozer to that Charlotte situation. Oh my God. Good luck. Good luck dealing with that. So this is intriguing not only because the talent is so good, but because the potential for league shakeup is rather fair. Like the odds of that happening is fair. I saw something that I thought was really interesting. So as I shook this thing up, got some random results, there was a scenario that I thought was really cool. It was Atlanta getting the first pick with the Pelicans pick, and then the Bucks getting the second pick with their own pick. Now that pick that the Pelicans mortgaged away to the Hawks for Derek Queen is essentially going to the Hawks as the better of the two picks between the Bucks and the Pelicans, right? So if the Pelicans get a really good pick, it goes to Atlanta. If the Bucks get a really good pick, it goes to Atlanta. But if Atlanta gets the first pick with the Pelicans pick, then the Bucks, whatever pick they get, goes directly to them. So let's say that happens, they get the second pick in the draft. So I think that's a really cool scenario for a team like the Bucks, who obviously are trying to pivot away from Giannis. If they can put DeBonster or if they could put Boozer in that situation, it immediately changed life for their franchise. You have a situation where you may not even see Giannis leave if they get Boozer potentially. It might make sense for him to stick around type stuff. So the odds of that are extremely low. Like that's very, very low odds stuff. But that's one of those rare scenarios where something strange could potentially happen. And so that's something that I just wanted to point out there, because I didn't see that but one time, but I thought it was really cool. Because it's obvious that the Bucks are not expected to get their pick, and if they do, it's going to fall in like ninth. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's a scenario that I saw that I think if that were to happen, that would shake things up a lot in the NBA. So, and then there's a lot of things that can still transpire. You know, if I'm the Indiana Pacers, I'm very, very nervous. Very nervous, because their pick is only top 4 protected. So if for some reason they get shafted in this lottery, that pick goes to the Clippers. And a good portion of the time running that scenario, that's exactly where that pick went. A good portion of the times, that pick ended up 5th to the Clippers. You talk about changing life for the Clippers. If they can get a top pick in this damn draft and add it to what they just put together with Garland and Mathurin, obviously Kawhi, if he's able to keep his act together, that would be a lifetime saver for them, especially with things potentially coming down from the league office in regards to Kawhi's situation. If they can have that scenario play out, that would be amazing for them. And absolutely devastating for the Indiana Pacers, because of course the Indiana Pacers tanked this year with the intention of keeping that pick. But it's top 4 protected. This is why protections are so dangerous, man, because you never know what the future holds. This team, I'm sure they made that trade, however that played out, thinking that they were going to be a contender and having no issue with this pick going left. But because their circumstances went the way that they did, now all of a sudden they were in a tank year, and they could really benefit from having the 5th, 6th, 7th pick. Even if they don't win the lottery, if you land amongst the worst teams after the first 3 picks, you still got a fantastic player, man. In this draft, you still got a fantastic player. But that player is now going to end up here in LA with the Clippers if for some reason they don't get a top 4 pick. And when you consider the fact that the Atlanta Hawks have double odds, that just really, that's a scary situation if you're the Indiana Pacers, man. Very scary situation. Very scary. Because more than not, when I ran that simulator, the Pacers found themselves outside the top 4, and then the Hawks ended up ending. More than not. More than not, yo. So that's just something I wanted to say to y'all. I think it's getting really interesting in this league right now. I think the lottery, you know, for bad teams like Brooklyn, Sacramento, you hope they don't get the shaft, you know what I mean, so to speak. You hope they don't get screwed over. Because some of these teams really need the monster. They need Peterson bad, man. The Kings and the Brooklyn Nets specifically, they really need this bad. Indy, it sucks, but they're getting Tyrese Halliburton back. They still got Siakam. The team doesn't suck, man. They're gonna be fine, even if they don't have a good draft situation here. They're getting their guy back. They will be good. They just won't be as great as they hope to be without a pick. But teams like Brooklyn, who drafted poorly last year, who don't really have a path to free agency success, this is a generational draft that they really need to get the first or second pick in. They really need that. And Sacramento, they're starting the process of finally realizing they need to rebuild. It's so important that they get that done. But it's not within their control. You know what I mean? It's a lottery. So, yeah, I found this to be very interesting, man. It's a lot of things that can go a lot of different ways from here, though, because it's still a lot of basketball to play. So some teams that, you know, whoever lands in the bottom 14 have lottery odds. That still isn't quite determined right now. You know, things should shift a little bit. You know, and so I think that keeping an eye on this could determine a lot, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, who's set to get the 15th pick right now? It's the Thunder, I think. I think the Thunder, if I'm not mistaken, the Clippers' natural pick is with the Thunder, and the Clippers are in position to get the 15th pick right now. If for some reason they lose a couple more extra games than they need to and find themselves within the top 14, now the Thunder have reasonable odds at getting the top pick or a first, second, third pick. So that's one to keep an eye on. If the Clippers hang on to that 15th spot, they're outside of the lottery, and the Thunder won't have anything better than the 15th overall pick. But for some reason, things go wrong with the Clippers. They got a reasonable chance in the lottery just like everybody else, and that means that's the Thunder. So you're talking about adding a Cam Boozer or DeBonsta to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and J-Dub and them. I personally think it's already overkill. I think right now no one's beating the Thunder. But if you add a player like Boozer to that situation, it's kind of unfair to even play it's not even going to be fair to play the games, to be honest with you. The league is going to be shot to hell pretty much for the next 7-8 years. So that's something to keep an eye on for certain. Because right now in that 14th spot, based on the standings, I believe that's the Miami Heat as of right now. And I saw the Heat get the top pick a couple times. Running that simulator as many times as I did see them get it once or twice. So like this, it's really dangerous stuff. And I think that's why the NBA is going to try to shake things up again to deter tanking a little bit, to kind of, you know, fluctuate the odds a little differently. I don't know how that's going to help the matter. But, you know, everyone's nightmare is the Clippers pick ultimately finding themselves in the top 3. That's a nightmare, man. So, yeah, those are the things that have been on my mind as of late. I did a video a couple days ago talking about Darren Peterson at the end of it. And I think his talent is potentially the best of the guard class that I've seen over the last several years. I really genuinely think he's going to be the best shooting guard in basketball at some point, by way of his talent. What I'm learning is that there might be some head stuff going on. It's always something, right? So I've been listening to a lot of people talk about him, and he's dealing with an injury, his leg, and it might have been like a mental thing that might have been attached to the injury. There's a lot of people that are calling him out, saying he stole money, more or less, taking money from the Kansas organization and only playing a few games here and there. But see, this is the danger of allowing players to get paid in college. There are a lot of things that go right with that, and I'm all on board with those players getting paid. But for a lot of these guys, college is a mandatory stepping stone to the NBA. They don't want to be in college. They have to be there because of the age restrictions on the NBA. So a guy like Darren Peterson, who knows he's good enough to be in the NBA today, may not necessarily want to risk injury at Kansas for a season just because he's forced to play there because of the age restrictions. And from what I gathered, he picked up some type of injury, and that kind of like that traumatized him a little bit. When guys know that they have a chance to be the best player in the world or whatever, you go to this damn college organization you don't even want to play for, and all of a sudden you pick up an injury that could potentially alter your career. Yeah, that's going to have some psychological effects on a young guy whose dreams is to make $1 billion in the NBA and be a Hall of Famer. The pressure to get your family out the hood, or whatever the case may be for him, dramatic fashion and make everybody rich. Yeah, you can grow a complex for the potential of injuries derailing that process. We've seen it with Greg Oden. We've seen it with guys like Brandon Roy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't blame any young player, especially as talented as Darren Peterson, developing a complex for the potential of injury when you have so much to lose in that regard. And I was hearing this one commentator talking about how he stole money from Kansas, and you let this kid come to your program, Bill Self, and he ruined the program. He didn't ruin the program, man. That's like one of the top prospects, if not the top prospects going into this season. Going there did not ruin the program. That's an asinine statement. It might not have necessarily, the season may not have went well, but to say he ruined the program, it's just foolishness. It's absolute foolishness. And I heard someone else saying that Darren Peterson is not a top 5 pick because he's basically another head case. Like, y'all can psych yourself into thinking that if you want. You know what I mean? Like that, if you want to. But believe me, if he's 100% healthy, you're not going to find 5 guards in this league more talented than him. So y'all can psych yourselves into that if you want. The worst thing in the world is certain data that people think is duplicable. A lot of people have Ben Simmons syndrome in regards to assessing talent. The moment a guy shows that he has some issue mentally, they start psyching themselves into believing that they're seeing Ben Simmons all over again. That's a very dangerous mistake to make when considering how talented that kid is. It's a dangerous mistake. And the only thing that I can say, though, is maybe I don't take him first or second because of how great potentially Boozer and DeBonsta could be, right? Because this is that type of draft to where if you get the wrong guy, you pass up 2 great guys. So I understand if he falls to 3. I won't blame anybody. But in most drafts, Darren Peterson don't have no equals. In most regular drafts, he don't have no equals. He gonna be number 1 in most drafts. If Wemby ain't there, if Braun ain't there, he gonna be probably number 1 in most drafts. I'm just telling y'all the truth, man. This just happens to be one of those drafts where you legitimately have Hall of Fame prospects at the top of it. He's one of 3. So, like, I get it. I may, depending on the needs of my team, pass up on Darren Peterson for that reason alone, because there are 2 other great prospects that you may not feel you can afford to pass up on for the sake of a guy who's also a great prospect, but may have some flaws with his approach. I get that. But take nothing away from Darren Peterson, man. And certainly don't psych yourself into thinking you need to pass on him because you've seen Ben Simmons struggle and now you think he's going to be the next Ben Simmons. That is a very, very crucial mistake, in my opinion. Very, very, very crucial. That's the type of mistake that'll get you fired. Ben Simmons was Ben Simmons. You're not going to see another Ben Simmons. And with all due respect to Ben Simmons, he was not even close to as talented as Darren Peterson. Not even close. So that's something I just want to say. If anything, you compare him to Kawhi Leonard. If you think a guy's going to develop complex for being injured, you think of Kawhi. So that's what comes to mind. But do not consider Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was not the baller this kid is, man. Not even a little bit. So that's what I want to say, man. I'm listening to a lot of people say, "Oh, we got to pass on Darren Peterson. He's not even going in the top 5. I wouldn't even take him in the top 10." Like, I'm hearing a lot of asinine statements from people who are shock jocks who want a lot of attention. They don't care if they're right or wrong. They're just trying to get people to click, and they're saying bullshit like that. Excuse my language. But as a person who's begun to do homework on this kid, I would not be that person. That's disingenuous for me to get up here and say, yo, you need to pass on him, let him fall. No. And I say that understanding that I have a lot of homework to do. I've been hearing a lot of good things about Acuff. I'm looking forward to doing homework on him. I haven't seen anything from Acuff, but I know that he already got a shoe deal. They don't give away shoe deals to weak prospects. I understand that he's going to be fantastic. Allen Iverson already gave him the stamp of approval. I'm very curious to see what's up with Acuff. Very, very curious about Acuff. If AI say you him, I'm listening. That's what I will say. I'm listening. But we're going to get to him later. I got to get to this top 3 prospect thing. And one of the reasons why I want to be very knowledgeable about these prospects is because sometimes when you wait as long as I do, there's so much to learn after the draft that you figure about these kids. I don't really want that. I want to know everything there is to know prior to, so I can make an educated guess with my mock draft. That's my attitude this year. I want to be super informed on these guys in this first round. I usually don't do the second round, but I want to know those players too. So yeah, that's something I just want to say. This year I'm going in, and I want to know exactly who's there. I want to know where they slot in, and I kind of want to have a more well-rounded approach to knowing what other teams need. But sometimes that logic doesn't actually play into how people draft. So being married to that logic will bust your bracket. It definitely will. Thinking that you're going to do what's logical for teams, and they got a million point guards, so they obviously don't need Peterson. Yeah, that's not how these people think at all. At all. So I've learned that lesson enough. But yeah, man, that's really what's on my mind, man. It's a lot of draft stuff. Paying very close attention to everything having to do with Peterson and Boozer today. Boozer, I just walk away thinking that he's probably going to be the modern day Tim Duncan, man. That's what people are painting him out to be. But the thing about Timmy was an elite defensive player. I don't think Boozer's going to be elite defensively. I think he's going to be good, though. It's not like I think he's a turnstile or nothing. He doesn't suck defensively at all. He holds up well. But Timmy was one of, defensive player of the year guy. Like, I don't expect that Boozer's going to be that. But from an offensive perspective, little to no mistakes made type of perspective, yeah, that's Boozer. Highly fundamentally gifted, basketball IQ in the cosmos, yeah, that's Boozer. And there are teams in this lottery and teams in at the top of this draft that kind of need to prioritize seriousness and basketball IQ over athleticism and versatility. I'm just going to be honest. Some of these teams, they have enough of that already. They need a guy who's going to bring it all together and make them a real winner. And I think of a team like Utah, for example. You got all the guys that play every position. What you need is somebody to come in and make zero mistakes and take you from a bad basketball team to a good one and make all this stuff that you've been investing in with these players come together. So if they get that first pick, I would not necessarily pass up on Boozer for them. I wouldn't. You want that fundamental guy. Obviously, his dad played for the Jazz, made it at his best years with the Jazz. I think that would be a great thing to see his son drafted to the Jazz as well. And I think he would immediately come in and be the franchise he would come in and be the franchise. But I say that not really knowing, because to be honest with you, that boy Ace is turning into something right away. Ace is having a hell of an end to the season right now, so I'm not so sure about that. But the point is, Boozer would bring a certain seriousness to Utah that is just not quite in place yet. A certain very, very serious winning attitude, fundamentally sound seriousness that they really need, in my opinion. So yeah, man, I got to do homework on DeBonsta to really be educated enough to know if this is the opinion I would land on. Because if DeBonsta blows me away, then I'm going to change that. And I understand he is blowing people away. His athleticism, his size versatility. He has some things in his arsenal that you cannot teach, from what I understand. Quick twitch muscle, stuff like that. You know how valuable gifted basketball athletes are in this league, especially when they have elite talent. And that's exactly what DeBonsta has had for years. Since early high school days, he's always been understood to be that. So I'm expected to be blown away by him. But I think I already have an idea what he is. And I think the best place for him, based on what my little understanding is Brooklyn. Brooklyn is the best place for a player like that, to where he can just come in, take a million shots, be the face. He got a million playmakers to find him, because all that Brooklyn did was bring point guards to them for the last several years and passers. So he would go there, immediately be the face of the franchise. They can continue to tank. He can develop properly and then add stuff to him, just like Utah has done and Washington has done, and all these other teams that have been kind of at this process for the last several years. I think that would be the best place for a guy like DeBonsta. And be the first real star-level kid in Brooklyn. So I'd like to see him go there. And I haven't really thought about where I want Peterson to go. But what I can say is, I can just double back to what I already said. If he finds himself in a place like Dallas, I know he's needed to play his position in that situation. They really need a point guard. It's what they're missing. If he goes there, he will be immediately himself. So I think that it's a little bit of a long shot, because I don't think Dallas has great odds to get the first pick. But I think that would be a great spot for him. Just judging off what I've seen. Sacramento could be pretty interesting. I don't think they have a lead guard. You got Russell in place. He's probably going to be gone. Who's the guy at the guard spot? He's not developed into that. I don't think he's going to become that. I might be overlooking somebody, but I don't think that piece is in place. They got Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Those guys are likely going to be bouncing. So, yeah, I think Darren Peterson would be great in Sacramento, in theory. And you got him next to Ronaldo. But I also think Sacramento could be great if they had a serious Boozer-like piece as well, especially if they're going to keep these contracts of DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. They could use Boozer to help them win right now and then carry them forward as well. So I would not be mad at Sacramento going any of those three directions. I think they would be happy with all three of those players if they can get them. Washington is a little tricky for me, because I don't think they need a guard, but I also don't think they have a guard prospect better than Peterson. But I don't think they could use a guard right now. With Trae Young in place, ready to re-sign, Trey Johnson in place, one of the best shot makers at that position. You know, Bub Carrington just had a 30-point game a few nights ago. He's developing well. I just don't know if Peterson isn't pushing some of those kids out the door. It's not. That's a situation where I think you probably go with Boozer, because you got Anthony Davis in place to shot block and play some defense, and that's really what Boozer's going to need. And, of course, you got Alex Sarr as well. And with Anthony Davis constantly missing games, probably not long for Washington, you could put Boozer in place and allow for him to kind of be the future power forward with Sarr. That fits. But DeBonsta would be cool too, because the small forward position there is not necessarily solidified. I think Bilal Coulibaly's developing okay, but he ain't DeBonsta ain't gonna worry about taking his spot, to be completely honest with you. That's not gonna be a thing. DeMonta immediately comes in and takes that spot. he's going to be a bench guy there or playing the 2 or something. I don't know. But the point is that DeBonsta brings versatility, allows for a lot of lineups with Washington. And so I think they should be interested in him too. So, yeah, Washington should probably take 1 and 2 forwards. If they get the top pick or a top 2 pick, they should take one of those 2 forwards. I think if anybody leaves Peterson on the board, it's probably a team that already has young guards. Utah has a bunch of young guards. You got Collier in place. You got Ace in place. You got George in place. Who's leaving so that Peterson can be Peterson? I just don't see it. You see what I'm saying? So for me, looking at who's potentially drafting at the top of this draft will determine where I think these kids should go. It's not necessarily who blows me away. Fit has a lot to do with my opinion in this year's draft. Fit. Now, if Golden State happens to get the first overall pick, they can go 1 of 3 ways too. I love Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry still got some years left. But I do not think if I'm Golden State, I'm passing up on Peterson because I have Steph Curry. Peterson can play the 2 very comfortably. And the 1 very comfortably. So can Steph. And with their situation being as is, they can use literally anything. I think with the experience of having, and this is a dangerous thing, I'm not advocating for this type of thinking, but with the issues that they had with Kuminga, I'd imagine they wouldn't favor DeBonsta. I don't align with that thinking, but I just say that, you know, with the issues they had with athletic shooting guards, small forwards and power forward players that jump out the gym but may not necessarily be ready. With their circumstance, I probably don't go in that direction. What I think I do if the top pick, if I'm Golden State, or a top 3 pick if I'm Golden State, is I'm trying to vie to get Boozer. Boozer's a guy you can replace Draymond with. Boozer's a guy who can play next to Draymond, no problem. And it shifts your franchise in a direction that brings them back to a winning mentality. Darren Peterson, if he does wig out mentally, that's a lost pick. You can't afford that. You had that happen with Wiseman. So their measures of risk threshold should not allow for them to necessarily want to go in any other different direction. For me, if I'm with Warriors, I'm going to go with Boozer, safe, put him at the power forward spot, and have a little to no nonsense type player in place to help Steph Curry continue on the path of winning. Him, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry, they right back in the top of, or the bottom of the playoff picture, I guess you could say. It shouldn't take much. So for me, I'm not doing any thinking if I'm the Warriors. I'm taking Boozer. There's no conversation. Unless DeBonsta blows me away. If I develop a personal opinion that DeBonsta is a player that can't be passed on, which I reserve the right to change my mind in regards to, I will change my mind. But based on what I've seen, am I going with the high fly at DeBonsta for them? Nope, I'm going with the Tim Duncan solidified, boring power forward who's not going to make any mistakes. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm bringing that player to Steph Curry, and I'm hoping he develops into somebody who can help us right away. So, like, these are different things. There are real things that could be potentially on the horizon because the lottery just has way too many interesting teams that could potentially get this draft pick, man. Too many interesting teams. And the Hawks, if the Hawks get it, that's crazy, man. I think people believe that the Hawks could use a point guard. I don't know that Dyson Daniels and Nas going to keep me from getting Peterson, but I also don't know that I need a guard in place as much as maybe I could use a forward like Boozer or DeBonsta. I would have to defer to Hawks fans to let me know if they're comfortable with their point guard position. Because I know these guys that they have in place, they're basically 2s. CJ's a 2, Nas a 2, Dyson is drafted a 1, can play both sides of the ball, but basically is a defender. Do you feel comfortable with your point guard position if you're Atlanta? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe they feel they could use a Peterson more so than they could use another forward with Jalen Johnson in place. But for me, when I look at Jalen Johnson, I'm like, okay, he's already super cerebral, triple-double lead all day long. You put a Boozer next to him, and they're going to be impossible to beat. Now, they overthought this thing last year and didn't take Sarr, or the year before. They should have took Sarr. Everybody knows they should have took Sarr. I like Reece Sachet, still do, but they should have took Sarr. I don't know that they're going to take a guard again or a forward again. They may go with the big. How much do you like Okongwu? I like Okongwu. He's going to be nice. Can you slide him next to Boozer and feel good about that? And Jalen Johnson stay at the 3? What happens with Asa Newell? Is he a forever bench player in that situation? Reece Sachet, is he now a forever bench player? These are things that Atlanta are going to really have to think about. So, I don't know. They're so deep and they have so much already in place that helps them win. Whatever they bring to them is going to help them. But I don't know that I don't know what they really need. I honestly don't know what they need. Seems to me that they wouldn't go wrong in any of those 3 players. So, like, these are things I've been thinking about, man. I think it would be so awesome if the Charlotte Hornets got the first pick in the draft, though. I will say that. Low key. I think that would be incredibly awesome if they won that. Because they already, I think, one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference if the season were to start today. You add a transformational, generational type dude to that situation, and you're going to finally see the Charlotte Hornets that they've always wanted to see. Or for the first time, they're going to be actual contenders someday. So I would love that for them. I really would. And I already like what they have. They have a fun bunch. So you add another super talented player to that situation, and you may see Charlotte get their first NBA championship. Could be really cool if you ask me. So these things I've just been thinking about, man. I could do this all day. I like the idea of most of these teams. I know Portland's in there in the mix as well. That they have a really strong situation with Dame coming back next year, with Denny stepping all the way out, becoming an all-star. I have to take a look at their depth chart to kind of get a vision for what they have. I'd imagine they would probably pass on Peterson, given the fact they got Scoot and Dame coming in. But I don't like either one of them people going forward more so than I like Peterson personally. So from Portland, I might talk myself into taking Peterson anyway. We know they don't care about no damn fit. They're the team that's made that mistake twice. They may not make it again. Kevin Durant, they passed on. Michael Jordan. If there's a solidified piece that they love, if anybody shouldn't pass on it, it's them. If there's somebody they believe is the guy, if anybody shouldn't pass on it for positional need, it's them. So if they get a top pick, whoever they think is the best, I suggest them, they take it. Whoever they think that is, take it. So, yeah. And we saw them double down and triple down on center prospects last year. Even though they made it make sense, at the time it looked crazy. So I think they're an intriguing team. A very intriguing team if they can find themselves in that top 3 as well. So I don't think there's too many teams that I'm not extremely intrigued by jumping into this lottery based on what's possible right now. Most of these damn teams getting in that lottery could be interesting. Most of them. Boozer going to Memphis could be interesting. Since they've been grit and grind, low to the ground, Zach Randolph, Mark Gasol, that type of history. Adding a guy like Boozer could fit right in with what it is they've always been, grit and grind. I think that could be interesting. Maybe you feel like Peterson should be replacing Ja Morant. Maybe you add a high fly act like DeBron to add to Ja Morant and make that place exciting for Ja again. It's a lot of different things that could happen with Memphis. Memphis has a good enough chance of getting a lottery pick for sure. So, yeah, man, this is where my head is at. People want to know, what's Brandon been thinking about in regards to basketball? 2 things. My Los Angeles Lakers, how well we've been playing, how exciting it's been over the last 3 weeks, and the draft, and just how interesting this thing looks to me right now. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.